Hello, good afternoon, good morning, good evening. I'm going, as usual, to speak in Portuguese, and I'm going to ask Daniela Brinatti, my PhD student who is here helping us, to project my test in English. I think this is a way to make things easier for us people. Okay? Bom, bom dia, boa tarde, boa noite a todas e todos. Bem-vindos e bem-vindas à segunda sessão do ciclo de encontros organizados pelo EuGeSta, no âmbito desse novo projeto, EuGeSta Project Gender Studies and Classical Scholarship. EuGeSta é o nome de uma rede europeia de estudos de gênero na Antiguidade, criada pela latinista e professora da Universidade de Lille, Jacqueline Fabre-Serris, em 2009. A rede reúne estudiosos de diferentes áreas da antiguidade, como língua, literatura, arqueologia, economia, direito, medicina, filosofia, história da arte, religião, estudos de recepção, etc. Todos eles têm em comum preocupações com os estudos de gênero na sua abordagem. Em 2011, foi criada a revista acadêmica com o mesmo nome, editada por Jacqueline Fabre-Serris, de Lille, e Judith Hallett, de Maryland, College Park, e ela é de acesso aberto. Mais informações sobre esse projeto podem ser encontradas no site, que vocês podem encontrar, então, da Universidade de Lille. Em uma nova fase da rede de pesquisa, EuGeSta, foram iniciados alguns outros projetos, e um deles é este ciclo de encontros, que visa divulgar publicações importantes na área de estudos de gênero, e ele acontece a cada 2 meses. Após a primeira sessão, que ocorreu em 8 de março, foi o Dia Internacional da Mulher, né? Nós temos hoje a segunda sessão. Cada sessão ela tem a duração de 1h20, podendo estender até 1h30, e elas são gravadas, e futuramente nós vamos disponibilizá-las no canal do YouTube conectado ao site do projeto EuGeSta. Elas sempre terão a mesma estrutura, uma breve apresentação, né, de 5 minutos, introdução, informações gerais, e depois 15 minutos para o primeiro orador e 15 para o segundo. Depois, 10 minutos para os comentadores do primeiro orador e também do segundo. E, ao final, 25 minutos de discussão geral entre palestrantes e público, ou mesmo entre palestrantes e os próprios colegas palestrantes. A gente pede que sejam perguntas, né, no final, breves e objetivas, para podermos atender ao maior número de pessoas. Eu também, como como coordenadora da mesa, eu não serei draconiana, mas eu espero seguir o cronograma, né, e peço, então, a gente, por favor, por gentileza, a colaboração de todos vocês. Essa é uma atividade multilingüe. O inglês será provavelmente a língua mais comum, usada pelos falantes, os entrevistados aqui, mas se o orador ou oradora quiser falar em sua própria língua, o francês, o espanhol, o italiano, mesmo o português, pode fazê-lo, e nós sempre pedimos para eles projetarem uma versão do texto em inglês na tela, para facilitar e ampliar a possibilidade de comunicação. Nesse formato, a gente acredita que a interação pode ser maior entre os participantes e, assim, darmos visibilidade a trabalhos também de diferentes partes do mundo. É importante dizer que nós pedimos aos entrevistados, né, que eles se fixassem em algum aspecto importante do livro que eles vão comentar ou relacionado ao livro. Não é uma análise detalhada ou uma resenha do livro, né? É um comentário bastante livre. Para esta sessão de hoje, a segunda, nós teremos 2 livros. O primeiro, Ancient Greek Women in Film, que foi editado pelo professor Konstantinos Nikoloutsos e lançado em 2013. Apesar dele ter sido lançado já há 11 anos, ele é o primeiro e único livro, acreditamos, a examinar representações cinematográficas de mulheres no âmbito do mito e da história da Grécia Antiga. O nosso convidado, Konstantinos, é professor do Departamento de História na St. Joseph University, nos Estados Unidos, e tem vários interesses que incluem também a recepção da Antiguidade Clássica na cultura popular moderna, em particular no cinema, no teatro e no desenho animado. O segundo livro a ser discutido é o Compêndio Histórico de Mulheres na Antiguidade, que foi publicado pela Tempestiva em 2021 e que é um grande projeto coletivo, editado pelo professor Ivan Vieira, também por Semira Miscossi Silva, os dois historiadores, e por Rafael Brunhara, professor de estudos clássicos. O professor Ivan leciona na Pontifícia Universidade Católica de Goiás. E as duas respondentes, ou respondentes, né, dos dois convidados, são também as convidadas, professoras Renata Garraffoni, que leciona História Antiga na Universidade Federal do Paraná, e Sara Azevedo, também professora de História Antiga, recém-contratada pela Universidade Federal da Bahia, após concurso público. Antes de passar a palavra a todos, eu gostaria de agradecer, né, a assistência técnica aqui da Daniela Brinatti, doutoranda da Universidade Federal de Minas Gerais, uma instituição pública no Brasil, e também Caio Assunção, que é estudante de graduação em filosofia e que também nos auxilia na organização desse evento. Ambos atualmente fizeram intercâmbio em universidades europeias, né, com apoio do governo brasileiro, do Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, nosso atual presidente. Por fim, eu gostaria de dizer que é uma honra e um prazer muito grande para mim presidir essa sessão e participar desse projeto como coorganizadora, ao lado da professora Jacqueline, e agradeço muito, Jacqueline, obrigada. Eu gostaria de lembrar também que há muitas outras atividades do EuGeSta que podem ser conferidas no site do projeto, né? E que no segundo semestre deste ano, de 2024, nós pretendemos, né, retomar as atividades e apresentar outros livros instigantes para serem discutidos aqui. Então, agora eu passo a palavra aos nossos palestrantes e comentadoras, começando com o professor Konstantinos, a quem agradeço muito pela presença. Obrigada, Konstantinos. You have the floor or the screen.
Muito obrigado, Cecília. Bom dia da Filadélfia. Bom dia a todos. Filadélfia, a primeira capital da nação americana. Good morning from Philadelphia, the birthplace of the United States. Καλημέρα στους Έλληνες στο ακροατήριο. Good afternoon and good evening to all those joining us from different time zones where the sun is about to set or has already set. It is an immense honor for me to be here today. Many thanks to Cecília and Jacqueline for the invitation to speak about ancient Greek women in film, a book I had so much fun editing 11 years ago. And I would like to thank in advance Renata for acting as a respondent to the project. It was a great privilege for me, a junior scholar at the time, to collaborate with a stellar cast of contributors, all of whom embraced the project with incessant enthusiasm and whose passion was for me an inspiration as well as motivation to delve into the topic more critically and I hope more creatively. I would like to seize this opportunity to express my deep gratitude to all 12 contributors to the project. I would also like to restate my indebtedness, the indebtedness of the project to the work of pioneers in classical film philology, such as Monica Sirinou and Maria Wyke, who produced seminal research when the vast majority of classicists treated classical reception studies with skepticism, if not contempt. My project builds upon the work of such trailblazing scholars, but at the same time aim to introduce a new model of scholarly inquiry away from the investigation of the cinematic afterlife of the ancient world under overarching titles, and instead gravitating towards a narrower scope of exploration, being more specialized and focused on a common theme and idea across a wide range of film genres, industries, and production periods. In the next 13 minutes or so, I plan to discuss the genesis of the project and delineate some of the methodological issues my contributors and I attempted to address in ancient Greek women in film, as well as some of the conclusions that the volume as a whole reached and the epistemological benefits that the reader can take away. The book had its origins in a panel I organized at the quadrennial conference, Feminism and Classics. The fifth meeting of this conference took place at the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor in May 2008. The original group of 4 speakers and a respondent grew soon to become 12 contributors. The project also has its genesis in my conviction that women have or must have their own place in the study of the ancient world's celluloid afterlife. Cinema is a medium predominantly, if not exclusively, male. The producers, directors, screenwriters, and costume and set designers of most films set in Greek antiquity, whether it is myth or history, are all male. Most people in today's audience have heard of the Trojan Women, directed by Greek male director Michael Kakoyannis, but I wonder how many people in the audience have heard of Cassandra, directed by Argentine female director Inés de Oliveira César. Female participation in the production of films anchored in the ancient Greek world is typically limited to the role of the makeup artist, whose name is buried somewhere towards the end of the film credits. Since those who grant a role to ancient Greek women on screen are men, and as a result, films reproduce and perpetuate the values, beliefs, and attitudes of a patriarchal system, women, as my conviction was when I embarked upon this project, should be a distinct focal point in a scholarly inquiry from a socio-historical, if not an artistic point of view. Although the celluloid counterparts of, let's say, Helen, Medea, Gorgo, and Olympias have nothing to contribute to our knowledge of gender and sexuality in the ancient world, they deserve special attention because they constitute a barometer of the variations and changes in perceptions of femininity, motherhood, physicality, beauty, and sex appeal registered on screen in recent decades. Ancient Greek women on screen play a vast array of roles. They're wives, mothers, daughters, lovers, both agents and victims, both lead and supporting characters. They occupy both the private and the public sphere. My conviction, therefore, was that they deserve their own special place in scholarship. How can one understand the concept woman, what this concept means to filmmakers, unless it is examined in its own right, unless women are granted center stage in critical discourse? In editing the volume, I viewed my role as a supporter of research in the topic across temporal, spatial, and generic boundaries. And that is why the case studies that feature in the anthology are not limited to Hollywood productions, but include films from Italy, Greece, Denmark, France, Germany, and Great Britain. Diversity was one of my goals, and this is why the volume does not focus only on films labeled as canonical, with which audiences and readers are more familiar on account of their commercial and or critical success. The volume also examines a wide range of films considered as non-mainstream in terms of genre, budget, and distribution region. There are essays that discuss epic productions. We all know epic productions made on a big budget and intended for release in the international market, and chapters that investigate a less well-known Italian genre called peplum that was tailored to the needs of a small domestic market. The majority of essays focus on drama and action films, but there are contributors who explore representations of women in comedies, made for television, art house, and poetry films. Whereas the films under examination in the volume spread over the course of 90 years, the earliest was released in 1917, the most recent one in 2007. The anthology has certainly paid less attention to films produced during the embryonic days of cinema, and has admittedly ignored specific geographical regions and film industries considered as less hegemonic. For example, the Americas, south of the Mexican border, are completely absent from the book. The reason for this lamentable omission is twofold. First, the accessibility of films, an issue that, thanks to free video sharing websites, has been remedied somewhat. And second, the availability at the time of Hispanophone and Lusophone scholars versed in the vocabulary of classical film philology. By the same token, films from the silent era do not provide a significant pool of case studies in the volume. Again, the reason for this oversight is twofold. First, research in the reception of the ancient Mediterranean world in pre-sound cinema did not have, at the time, the momentum it has now. And second, the lack of access to silent films has led to their marginalization in scholarly discourses, not to say to their critical oblivion, thus making finding experts who are willing to contribute a chapter difficult, sometimes impossible. I hope that readers will want to read this volume not to obtain an understanding of the celluloid trajectory of ancient Greek women and the evolution of their cinematic image in chronological terms. With the exception of the last section of the book on historical women, where the focus is indeed comparative, the rest of the essays do not aim to offer a progression of the cinematic techniques used across time in the reanimation of specific female figures. This was not my goal as editor when I was soliciting contributions, precisely because I knew that to write the history of the reception of ancient Greek women in the medium, one would have to include a much larger number of chapters than any publisher would be willing to publish. But the volume does have a historical focus, not historical in terms of temporal sequence, but historical in terms of historical specificity. In other words, the volume as a whole explores how specific female figures are resurrected on the big screen at specific historical junctures and are embedded in a cinematic narrative that serves specific yet different at the time purposes, artistic, commercial, ideological, political, etc., depending on the director of the film, the screenwriter, the studio, the country of the origin, and the time of its production. The goal of the book was not to offer an exhaustive treatment of the subject. Cinematic portraits of iconic female figures from the realm of myth, such as Antigone, Electra, and Phaedra, are not considered in the volume. Similarly, there was no space in the project for historical fiction, as is the case with Hypatia in the 2009 film Agora. The anthology focuses mainly on films in which the characters are dressed in an ancient garment. Transplantations of ancient mythic plots into modern settings, which would be a fruitful way to revise the project. Such transplantations are not considered in the volume either. The goal of the collection was to restore to visibility the polysemous role of the women of ancient Greek myth and history in cinema, and to explore through select case studies the intersection between past and present on the big screen. The female figures under examination are, as I said, wives, mothers, daughters, lovers, both in traditional and in non-traditional ways, fashioned according to ancient protocols of femininity and modern stereotypes of gender. The main objective of the book was to demonstrate that the concept woman does not carry the same ideological connotations throughout the history of cinema. It does not mean the same thing to all filmmakers. Its cinematic definition varies and varies significantly depending on a number of parameters. The main objective of the collection was to illustrate the mutability and continuous adaptability of the celluloid image of the women that form part of the cave studies, their plasticity, that is. The common goal of all the contributors was to demonstrate that the look and comportment of these women are not static or always consistent with the features they are attributed in ancient and literary and visual sources. They change, in most cases radically, according to the sociocultural norms and stereotypes of the time in which the film under examination is produced. They depend on the economic conditions of the film's production, the political climate in which it was made, the vision of the producer, director, screenwriter, a costume designer, the star image and nationality of the actress who plays the part, as well as her physical characteristics that are often taken advantage of in order to connote issues of power or transgression, the aesthetic expectations and moral sensibilities of the audience, and finally, the stylistic and other conventions of the genre through which ancient female figures are revived on the big screen. Woman is not a singular, monolithic concept. There are multiple definitions of it, and this is why I chose to use the term in the plural in the title of the book. One should not expect to find the exact same Helen, Medea, Gorgo, or Olympias every time these women are resurrected on the silver screen. One should be prepared to investigate the accretions, cliches, misconceptions that have been embedded in and have shaped their image through continuous appropriation and reinterpretation of ancient and modern popular culture. I could say a lot more, but I think I've reached my 15 minutes, and now I would like to turn the floor over to the next speaker, Ivan. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Konstantinos, for this clear and interesting presentation about the project. Now, before I give the floor to your commentator, Renata Garraffoni, I'll pass to Ivan to speak about the other book. Thank you very much. Ivan, please, the the screen is yours. And thank you very much again for your presence.
Thank you very much, Professor Maria Cecília. Thank you, Professor Jacqueline Fabre-Serris. It's a pleasure to be here and to publicize the results of a project that has been on for quite some years. I have a presentation here. I'll just share it. Daniela, I don't know if I can share the presentation.
I already made you co-host, so
Oh,
probably.
yeah, now it worked. Thank you. So, you can see it? Yes. Oh, this is the covers of the two first tomes of the first volume of our companion to historical companion to women in antiquity. To say the name in English is a little troubling for me because I am so used to say it in Portuguese. So this is our Compêndio Histórico de Mulheres da Antiguidade. It was first published in the ebook version in 2001, and now we have the printed version, which is two tomes published in 2003. Where can I go? Oh yeah. Well, the compendium was a project led by three scholars, and I have to present them for you. The first one is the creator of the project, Professor Semiramis Corsi Silva, from the Federal University of Santa Maria, Rio Grande do Sul. She was the one who idealized the whole project and invited me over to take place in it with her. And then we have Professor Rafael Brunhara from the Federal University of Rio Grande do Sul, who is here. Hi, Rafael. And Rafael was, as Cecília presented, the classical professor who made things more fluid among the two initial historians who were leading the project. And me, I'm a professor at the Pontifical Catholic University in Goiás. And we started this project after the publication of another book, which I can translate into English as the dictionary 100 Biography Fragments, The Middle Ages in Trajectories by Professor Guilherme Queiroz de Souza from the Federal University of Paraíba, and Professor Renata Nascimento, professor in many universities to list, but my colleague at the Pontifical Catholic University of Goiás as well. This book was published in 2020, and it was the result of a personal journey in the field of editing. I was longing to become an editor from a long time, and in 2020, during the pandemic, I tried to take a step forward, and this was the first result of this venture. And after it was published, the reception was very good. Many colleagues from the field of the history of Middle Ages have had a very positive feedback about this project. That was really extensive. Professor Renata Nascimento and Professor Guilherme Queiroz invited 100 scholars to write about 100 lives of people from the Middle Ages. And Professor Semiramis came up with the idea that we should do something alike for the field of ancient history here in Brazil. We have the Portuguese version of some things that I'm saying here, so people who are not so comfortable with English can follow up the conversation. So this was the first moment of this project. The first work, the first title, was the Dicionário Sem Fragmentos Biográficos, and it was a sort of a companion, although it didn't have the name. It wasn't called a companion, but it was already a companion. So when Semiramis came to me and asked, we should do something like that for ancient history, I started to think, well, we should do that as a companion, so we could try to get into this tradition that is very common, very well established abroad, and not so much in Brazil. So the first idea was Semiramis's, and she asked us to limit the contributions of authors to women in antiquity. We had already published another book under the title Myths, Goddesses, and Heroes. And the option for goddesses, this small cut, limiting only for the female deities, has been also very well received by some of our peers. So we decided, well, let's do something like that. Let's do something about women. And then we invited Professor Rafael Brunhara to take part in this enterprise. So he kindly accepted our invitation. And after Rafael came, we started to discuss how this project would proceed. One of the first cuts we have made in this theme was to exclude goddesses. Yes, we had a very good feedback about the cut goddesses in a previous book, so we decided we would not place the goddesses among these other female characters. And one exception was made, and I believe, if I can recall it correctly, it was mainly Rafael's idea. He decided to admit the muses amongst the other women. And we said, well, this will be the exception that will confirm the rule. And after some discussion about how the entries would be comprised to form the companion, we realized that we wouldn't want the chronological model. It would not work for us, just like it have worked very well to the previous book. And we didn't want to make something alphabetical as well, because we thought it would make the companion a less whole somehow. So Semiramis suggested that we should divide the companion into some themes. We should do a thematic division of the companion. So we did. And we decided we would have 12 sections with 20 sections with 20 different themes for this work, for this project. And we divided these 20 sections into 2 volumes. The first volume is already published, but the second volume is still a work in progress because it is a very, very big project. It's huge. And another decision we have made as editors was to not limit the contributions from fellow researchers. So every time we asked a colleague to write about some of the characters, we were open to historical and also imaginary characters as well. And every time we invited someone, especially the female colleagues, would suggest another character that we hadn't thought already. So to the first draft of this project, new elements, new characters have been added, and the draft has increased a lot throughout the time we were making invitations for contributors. And following this rhythm and balancing our project with our own works at the universities and other responsibilities, other projects, we decided to go with our own pace. And the final result, the final draft was as it follows. In the first volume, we have mythical women, women in ancient Mesopotamia, women in ancient Africa, women in the Old Testament, women in Homeric epic, women in archaic and classical Greece and the Greco-Macedonian world, Hellenic poets, women in ancient Romance, women in Latin literature, and warrior women. These are the first 10 sections, so comprised by the first volume. And this is the summary of this work. We have 15 pages of summary with a lot of women. The last section of this first volume is it goes a little beyond ancient history and enters the field of medieval times, because we had colleagues wanting to present something about women from Scandinavia, and we said, well, that's nice, that's good. Scandinavia is kind of in the middle of ancient and medieval history somehow, so we'll let them do it. So it was a very demanding project that consumed a lot of work, a lot of time. And we did that because we wanted to present something that we thought were lacking in Brazil. The problem with Brazilian publications, from our perspective, was that we never, at least the three of us, have never been in touch with companions from Brazilian publishing houses or organized by Brazilian authors and scholars. Brazil doesn't have the tradition of companions, just as another part of the world does, such as the United Kingdom and North America, to say the least. So our objective was to offer something our audience wouldn't have in Portuguese. And the language was something that we took in consideration too, because our students, and they were the north, the compass of this project. Our own students sometimes, often, more often than we would like, don't have knowledge of English. They don't have access to English classes. When they enter the university, they are not fluent in English. Many of them can do something about it during graduation, but for most of them, this is not a possible reality, either because they don't have money to pay for courses, or because they don't have time to be on courses. And even now, when we have a lot of online possibilities, some of them say they cannot learn new languages from online classes. So it is hard work. It is very challenging. And we were thinking about the undergraduate students very often when we were discussing about the extension of this project. So this was our focus and our main objective, to present a companion, and maybe following the first companion that has been published years ago, to establish a tradition of companions, starting from the least considered scholars in Brazilian universities, which are the ancient scholars and the medieval scholars. The areas of ancient history and medieval history are often overlooked in Brazilian universities. So we set about this objective to be the ones to present this tradition following the first book published. And we have already another work being finished, which is a companion to women in Africa, in Afro-Brazilian reality. It's called Biographical Dictionary of Interwoven Histories of Afro-Diasporic Women. So maybe the tradition is being set, and somehow we are being able to surpass the fields of ancient history and medieval history, or the classical studies and medieval studies, to present to Brazilian scholars and publishing houses a new perspective on how to do, how to organize materials that will help our students to understand a little more about some topics concerning specific areas of study. I think I jumped, but this is the last. I think we have done greatly in this first attempt. We have been able to reunite very kind colleagues and some scholars that we even didn't have been in touch before. And we have a very nice work, a very nice book to present, and we have a lot of expectation and anxiety over the second volume that is to come. So it makes us feel that our mission was very well accomplished in these past years. And and especially in these past months that the book have been available to the public, to the general public. So I think that's it, and I'm looking forward to hear Sarah's response. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ivan, for showing this wonderful project. Thank you. Now I give the word to Renata to talk about Konstantinos, and after Renata to Sarah. Renata, please. And thank you.
So I also would like to start thanking Cecília and Jacqueline for the invitation. And I was very happy to be here, especially to comment on Konstantinos' book, which is a great pleasure. And I must say that when I started thinking from what perspective would I address here and what kind of questions I'd like to arouse, I thought that as Ivan is here also, it was interesting for us to talk about this idea of editing books also, because they are very important. And I think that sometimes we do not speak too much about it. So I must say that because I worked recently with Konstantinos, and I must say that he's a great editor. You know, he always very kind. He has lots of ideas, and the way he connects us in the book is very, very important. And also Ivan and Semiramis and Rafael, which I could send them also a contribution in this other book. So I was thinking that I was very glad to be with talking to two great editors, I think, and this is very important to stress here. And especially because, you know, the last the book that was published in the beginning of this year, the Brill's Companion to Ancient Greek and Roman Warfare on Film, that Konstantinos edited. It came to me in a very hard moment because we were during the pandemic, and I was the head of postgrad courses here in Brazil, dealing with lots of administrative work. So when I was writing the paper, it was my moment in peace, you know. I could also think about things I like to, like movies and Roman world and gender studies and all this field. So it's very important how we can share our perspective. I think that this is the main thing I would like to address in a book and that is edited. It's how some people come up with an idea, and they generally start with some conferences, as Konstantinos addressed it. So edited books are interesting because it's always people talking about some subject in different perspective. And there is a huge diversity of way of doing this. So sometimes people be a little upset because this women or that women were not there. But I don't think that this would be the main point. I think that the most interesting thing in this book, when I just got it and I started thinking what to talk, is that first to address that I think Konstantinos pointed out already, that is this moment that the book was published in 2013, and it was almost in the beginning of these studies because it was not very common, and lots of scholars didn't think it was a subject to be addressed because, you know, movies were popular culture, we're doing classics and all this, you know, problem we have at that moment. And I believe that if we consider this, all this decade, let's put things like this way, it changed a lot. because there are lots of people working on it. And I think that this kind of effort, sometimes you don't realize it in the moment the book it comes with time. And so I think that this would be something I believe both editors could, after respond in the moment we could talk about it, because I think it's a very important point to stress. So regarding the book that Konstantinos edited, I think it's very interesting the way he proposed the organization, especially regarding three topics that are very interesting: movies, myth, and history. I think this is the main subject, and the way it's addressed and how women are extracted from the original context, let's put in Greek antiquity, and then articulate into modern ideas. And it's just not that, but it's also the diversity of approach that he put together. So we can find in the book gender approach, feminist criticism, psychoanalysis. So and it comes to us a lot of different topics like women domestic role, sensuality, religiosity, the experience that's called, let's say, like the experience of a wife left behind, waiting, for example, anti-war ideas, or even silence voice of women. So I think these are very important topics to arouse, because it comes from movies that, as Konstantinos stressed, that's mainstream. Some ones, other ones are not mainstreamed, but as most part of these movies are in this male context, let's say, I believe that putting women in the first place, as the book did, was very different, and it was very important, because it was not usual at that moment, as far as I know. And it brings a very important question with it, that is the importance of classics for feminism in post 97 debates, especially the way, for example, Hélène Cixous arose some questions. I think it's very interesting, this kind of connection, and I would like also to stress this, because just for you have an idea, Hélène Cixous was just translated in Brazil 2 years ago, I think. So she wrote in the 70s, and 50 years late, it was translated here in Brazil. And sometimes people think that classic has nothing to do with feminism, which is not the point. There is lots of debates on it, and I think that this kind of book that put together movies, feminism, and classical studies shows that there is a very interesting field which would address the last point I would like to stress here, is this kind of myth metamorphosis, because myth is with us the whole time, and it's present nowadays. And most part of people who address to classic words, and they are not scholars, the contacts are just two themes that Konstantinos works: myths and war. And they come from these 2 points. So myth and war, it's let's say one of the 2 of the most popular ways of people in general touching classics in a way or another. So I believe that this kind of book that arises, that puts it in feminist, post-colonial studies, it makes us feel like we need to rethink lots of things. We need to rearrange our ways of studying it. If it's make a difference, and I believe it does when it is on a project with people from different countries, the way people address to it, the way people think about these topics. So my point here, to be brief, and maybe I believe there will be some time for Konstantinos to comment on something. So I thought that I decided to bring this thought-provocative points, let's say, to address that those work on editing books are very interesting, because we can put people from different backgrounds and countries together discussing the topic. And in fact, it can change the field. And I believe that classical reception is still having this importance role in refreshing some classical studies and rearranging some points, and make us thinking more seriously about women, about violence, about what we define that male is not universal. No? Male the men are part of the they are not precisely the only subject to be studied in classical world. So I believe this is what I'd like to stress, that myth and war are, for most part of people, the contact they have with classics. And I believe that Konstantinos was very clever in bring this together in two different moments, and with different approaches that make us think about classic in different perspectives and in a critical one, and especially how classical reception studies are important for this change perspective, and how people from other areas that are not only from the north area of the globe can think about classics also, and what we do and how we do, and how we can address this differently and keep doing our studies, because I think it's very important to reframe some points in classics, and this kind of contributions, they are very important to point out that we have a diversity of approaches and studies that are very stimulating. So I would like to thank you both for this work. And I hope this helps, but it was just some thoughts, let's put like this, on how classical reception fields changed a lot, and the importance of it, and how it can be very linked to important things like women, daily life, and feminism and gender studies. So thank you very much. I hope it's okay for you. So I believe we are going to have another moment of questions and comments. So I would like if Konstantinos could talk a little bit more about his experience and dealing with these two great and important themes, that's myth and... So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Renata, for your comments. And yeah, we have more time in a few minutes, but first let's listen to Sara commenting Ivan Vieira and Ceramis and Brunhada books. Thank you, Sara, please.
Hi everybody, hi everyone. I have a presentation to show I will try to share it. Okay. In advance, I apologize for any mistake. I will present in English, and there's a long time I don't speak English, so, but let's go. Okay. First of all, thank you very much, Cecília and Jacqueline, for organizing it. And I think it's a very important initiative. So, my commentary on the Compêndio Histórico de Mulheres da Antiguidade, or I put here a translation. Ivan said companion, and here I translated it Compêndio, Historical Compêndio of Ancient Women. It's just a translation, a possibility. I will be very brief here. There are some words about the book's description, but Ivan told us about the process, and so I will read the work Historical Compêndio or Companion of Ancient Women, organized by Semiramis Costa Silva, Rafael Brunhara, and Ivan Vieira Neto, represents a commendable initiative by its lectors or professors. It's an extensive work with short biographies of real and fictional women from antiquity. These biographies are represented in the format of entries, which contain, in addition to biography information, also details about the sources regarding each specific character and information about the reception along time and nowadays. So I will highlight some remarks. The book takes part of the most recent production of gender studies at an international level, as it offers updated interpretations concerns social criticism, that is, at each biography we can see the use of updated bibliography. It also shows an alignment with feminist perspectives. Another remark. The book feels, it's very important to say, the book fills a large gap that existed in Portuguese language production regarding women in antiquity, since there are no records of works in this format of encyclopedias and dictionaries, that is, reference works, in the Portuguese language, mainly exclusively dedicated to women in antiquity. So we have similar works, similar books in English. For example, I brought two examples. Here the example one, that book, Encyclopedia of Women in the Ancient World, organized by Joyce Salisbury, published in 2001, and the example two, A to Z of Women, A to Z of Ancient Greek and Roman Women, that it was, because organized by Marjorie Lightman and Benjamin Lightman, published in 2007. Therefore, the historical companion of ancient women represents a great contribution to studies on antiquity in the Portuguese language, as it fills a large gap and also due to the size and importance of the book in that context. The book has more than 1,000 pages. It shows 147 entries and brought together 113 researchers, authors of the entries, who are researchers spread throughout Brazil. In this way, these organizers were able to take advantage of the potential of the, in this way, the organizers were able to take advantage of the potential of workforce available in a country as large as Brazil. Another positive point of the book concerns the way it covers antiquity. The book is the first volume of the work, so the second volume, as Ivan said, is coming soon. This first volume focuses on the presence of women in literature and history. The work is divided into 10 sections. The book covers women in Greco-Roman literature and goes beyond, covering, for instance, women from Mesopotamia, biblical women, women poets, and women from ancient Africa. Some conclusions. So it's an original Brazilian contribution to the field of ancient history and gender studies and women's history and history as well. It fills a big gap, shows how academic research on ancient history is growing in Brazil, and adds the South America view. We're looking forward to the second volume, which will be focused on the women's power and phallocentric societies. I think it's I spoiled it here. Okay, so at last, the book is available for purchase on Amazon in the Kindle and printed version. Printed version comprised 2 volumes or 2 tomes, 2 tomes, I mean. And I want to congratulations. I want to say congratulations to the organizers. And so I was very brief, and because I also want to know what people has to say. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Sada, very much for your comments. And I would like to give the word now, to give the floor, the screen, to Konstantinos and Ivan, do your comments. But before of this, I would like to ask Jacqueline, the co-organizer and the EuGeSta director, to know if she has any comments or observation. Please, Jacqueline. No? Anything? Okay. And if all of
C'est
you...
serait impossible.
Pardon? Oui? Well, if you have, I'm speaking for all of you who are here, thanks again for your presence. If you have any question, you can ask by using microphone or just writing in the chat. But then I will pass to Konstantinos and then to Ivan to see if they have any comments or would like to say anything. Konstantinos, please.
Thank you. Renata, muito obrigado pelos seus comentários. I have to continue in English. Renata, and I had the distinct pleasure to work with Renata recently. And I would like to respond to some of the comments you made. First of all, I do believe in the importance of edited works, although I prefer to use the term collaborative as opposed to edited, because the adjective edited places emphasis on one person, the editor, and ignores the rest of the contributors. So I do believe in the importance of collaborative works, especially works that aim to bring scholars from a variety of geographical regions into dialogue. And I would like to comment on the benefits as well as on the challenges that such works entail. A major challenge for the editor is to create a dialogue among the various chapters. Every author focuses on his or her topic, so the editor has to identify commonalities among the chapters and explain to the reader why this project works all together. This is the most challenging work that I have encountered as editor. Other than that, it has always been a pleasure to work with people, especially people from outside the Anglophone world. I'm also an outsider. I mean, I speak English, but I was born and raised in a non-Anglophone environment. And thanks to the collaboration I've had with one member of the audience, the coordinator of the session, Cecília, I was, for example, exposed to a film genre I was completely unaware, a film genre I would never, ever consider including in my research, and that's parodies. So thanks to Cecília, I learned about a Brazilian parody of Greek antiquity, Carnaval Atlântida, which led me to another parody, a Mexican parody of Roman antiquity, thanks to which I combined the two and I wrote a chapter in a book that is coming out very soon. These are some of the benefits the pleasures one derives as editor. Another comment I would like to make, one other comment I would like to respond to, Renata. You correctly said that most students come to antiquity thanks to two themes, myth and war. I would also add history. There's a lot of fascination about cinematic revivals of history. And although myth and history occupy two different spheres, what they have in common when it comes to their cinematic reconstructions is an attempt to bridge the gap between the two realms, by which I mean that films set in the realm of myth make an attempt to historicize myth, to present myth as a universal truth, and at the same time, films set in the sphere of history make an attempt to attach mythic dimensions to historical figures. not to say that the cinematic techniques used by filmmakers are not common, but that's part of another discussion. And one last point I would like to respond to, Renata. You correctly said that since 2013, when this book was published, a lot has changed. Indeed, a lot has changed in terms of films released, in terms of films rediscovered, discovered and rediscovered, especially silent films, accessibility to which is so difficult. And the last thing that has changed is the production of the publication of scholarship and theoretical approaches to the subject that one could use in order to revise the topic. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Konstantinos. Well, now, Ivan, if you'd like to make any comments related to Sarah's as a respondent, please.
Thank you very much, Cecília. I just want to thank to Sarah for the time and to the generous comments on the subject, and also to Renata, who also referred my venture as an editor. I'm a scholar who's trying to enter this new field, and to bring up some ideas and some necessities that, as a scholar, I think are very present in Brazilian academy. So it is very new to me. It's something I've been doing as a side hustle, I would say. So it's not my main objective to be an editor. I have my academic work going on, but it's something that is very interesting to do. And as Konstantinos have said, it's amazing to work with people. We have very different perspectives on the work. We have some colleagues who are very chill and just wait for the work to be done and for them to get their hands on their copies of the books. And we have others who are already anxious from the first moment. They send the draft and they want the work published. And it is exciting for us as editors. Sometimes you have to say, wait, it is coming, but it's very exciting. So being on the other side, I think it's very interesting, very important. And it started with me and Semiramis publishing the works of our students. That is also uncommon for Brazilian, the Brazilian environment of publishing houses, to have undergraduates publishing, and they also have good perspective on some topics. We do not think this will be a great selling book. The first experience was an online and free access ebook. So it is interesting as well to have the students being part of this work and these projects, because we have them learning somehow of how this is done. So it's an honor and a pleasure to be on this position and to have the privilege of the of so much colleagues trusting in our work and sending their contributions, and being part of the nonsense that was a book of more than 100 contributors and more than 1,000 pages, as Sarah has pointed. It was when we think about the project, it was very nonsense as well, because we were the ones doing everything. So it is not an easy task to accomplish, and we have done it. And the second volume, we trust we will be able to publish it by the end of the year. So we have a lot of anxiety, a lot of expectation, but well, the work is being done, and it will be available soon. So all of it gives us so much pleasure. So, and it was very nice to be here with an international public, this audience. So thank you again, Cecília and Jacqueline, for the invitation and for the opportunity. And thank you all, everyone in the audience, for being here today.
Thank you, Ivan. Thank you very much. I don't know if someone else would like to say, to do any comment or question. Jacqueline, please.
Yes, I have a question for Konstantinos. Has this kind of study, reception studies, change your way of seeing ancient text from gender perspective or not? That means it's a studies on cinema, and you have explained how it is different. Okay, but as a result,
Thank you.
for you.
I arrived in this field, classical reception, precisely because I worked on gender and sexuality in Latin literature. In other words, I had a background in this topic, but in antiquity, and I was able to apply the theoretical and practical background to exploring the reception of antiquity in the cinema. So what classical reception has helped me realize is that it is not a new field. A reception has existed throughout antiquity. And Roman literature, Ovid, Virgil, their work are receptions of ancient Greeks, as well as other Roman authors. So there has always been a dialogue across temporal and spatial boundaries. And my work in classical reception, cinema as well as theater, has reaffirmed this convention that there has always been dialogue.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions more? No? Well, we still have 5 minutes. We are already in the extension of the project, but because we suggest 1 hour, 20 minutes plus 10 minutes if necessary. I would like just to, well, first of all, to thank you all for being here. This is the second session of this project. And there is one thing that Konstantinos said about the project that are collaborative. And the idea, when Jacqueline talked to me, the idea to organize these meetings is to give visibility to the work of so many people in the north of North Hemisphere, South Hemisphere, to give visibility to so many things like Ivan's works with so many people in Brazil. This was really a huge project. And but it was published in Brazil in Portuguese, so there is this limitation of language. But at least to know what is going on and to make possible in the future more contact and more cooperation not only between Brazilians, but also between Brazilians and other scholars, and vice versa. As Konstantinos said, I'm very glad that he didn't know Carnaval Atlântida, and he could work, and I could read his paper. Is a wonderful paper, and it's very nice to see also people working on material that was produced in Brazil. So I think the idea of this cycle of meetings, we want to continue, and we want to promote this visibility, this cooperation between scholars. There is also one comment by, this is more punctual, by Konstantinos. I think is a question, is also a suggestion. As I have a keen interest in cinema, is one area that I have been researching for some years. How reception in cinema seems to be something so different, when in fact, if you put in the whole general idea of reception, it's part of a huge history of dialogue and of reception. And I was just wondering about books on cinema, in which Konstantinos said about the idea of working in this book that he worked, he added, with women dress as it was supposed to be in ancient time, films that are realist, in the sense that Mackinnon used this term in his one of the first book on ancient in classics in cinema. But this idea of transplantation, how many films have work with some ideas, with some characters, even if they transform so much, or even if they don't use names or reference that make explicit, but that show all the tradition and all the reception that still is going on in our culture. And I think this could, in the future, give opportunity to do many other books also on this field, and also discuss reception in this broader sense. So I think, Joanna, you have just one more minute. So I would like just to thank you very much, all of you, the Konstantinos, Ivan, Renata, and Sara. Also, I want to thank Daniela and Caio for helping us with all logistic, and mainly to thank Jacqueline for being so open to this project of showing books, presenting books that so many scholars in many parts of the world are doing. Thank you very much, Jacqueline, and we do hope that you all be here in our spring in the south, in the September, to the other session. I would like to thank you and to invite you all to future meetings. And also just remember that these meetings, they will be available very soon in the website, in the YouTube channel and the website of EuGeSta project. Well, let me give the word to Konstantinos, because I saw that he raised his hand. Konstantinos.
Very briefly, let me say that I have visited Brazil 5 times and have done so with immense pleasure. The last time I was in Brazil, it was in 2016. I was on an academic tour. So I think, Cecília, it's about time I came back, and I hope I will be able to return soon. Thank you.
It will be a pleasure to receive you. And also other foreign scholars who are here, Jacqueline and other ones. Thank you very much. I don't know if you, Ivan, Renata, Sara, would like to say. Well,
I would like just thank you all. I think it's a great opportunity, and I just decided to stress this collaborative work, as Konstantinos said, because I think it's really important if we want to keep doing our research to be more collaborative. And nowadays, with all this internet way of doing things, I think it's really amazing, and there are lots of things we can do together. So thank you for the opportunity, and I hope to keep in contact with you all and keep in doing this works on classicals, because it's something we really, I think it's a passion that everybody that is here in a way or another shares. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you all. Well, Jacqueline would like to?
No, thank you very much. It was very interesting. This book, these two books are very impressive, and the Brazilian book I didn't know, so it's very interesting for me to know that this kind of enterprise existed. Okay, exist. So congratulations.
Thank you, Professor.
We are not the same in Europe, so vraiment.
Okay, then. Well, then, goodbye. Thank you again, and see you the next session next semester. Bye.
Okay, bye.